Try this again. All right, click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join the Telegram or support channel, and the various other links. So the demons are back at it again. Disney, corporate president, says, as the mother of one transgender child and one pansexual child, well, it's great that you feel it's appropriate to share that information about your children with the public. No, that's actually kind of a bit weird that you would choose to share that. Do you feel comfortable talking about that? And the next kind of thing is, why are you talking about your kids' sexuality? They're kids. It's a bit weird. Most people don't focus on that. And the third thing is, so what are the odds? You got two kids, and one's trans and one's pan. What are the odds of that? It wasn't that long ago most people would be on board with what my thought bubble. And I think, as I know you are also, it's like, is it Munchkin syndrome by proxy? I mean, you can do the math and you're like, oh, the odds are astronomical. And we're going to need some exponents to deal with these odds. These are big, big numbers. You're so emotional and you're doing an interview talking about your kids. And you're the president of corporate Disney. This is totally organic. Or not. That's the other possibility, is it's actually not organic. Okay, so why compound questions? If you study the rules of evidence, federal rules of evidence, 403, I think that's hearsay. Why compound questions are not allowed in court? Why you can object to compound questions that form the question, because you don't know what they're responding to. Are they responding to the first part or the second part? So she says she wants BLT characters in her stories and wants a minimum of 50% of characters to be BLT or non-European. Now, the non-European people, you go, okay, well, the market is, America is about 50% European, 50% non-European, with the bulk of that being Latin and African, and the growing is going to be Latin. So eventually you're going to want to shift over to that. But the next part is the compound is the BLT. They go, well, you included that with the 50% number. So where does that number, how does that number, really you'd break these two statements apart and you'd say BLT is going to be certain percent. That's where you'd name it. But you combine the two. So what does that mean? Which one's which? How do you apportion those two? It's like, well, that's why they put that compound statement in there, because they're very tricksy little slippery rock scurrying creatures. That's why they combine those things, because you don't know what they're talking about. Because people are on board the POC part, but they're less so with the first part. And again, you're corporate president and you've got two kids who just happen to be BLT. Just a coincidence there. And you feel comfortable telling millions of people about that. Most people would say this is raising some red flags, because this is deeply, deeply creepy. But it's an emotional moment for her, and she's got her hair done, and she's talking about her kids, and like, does anyone buy this? Maybe for if this was 3 years ago, it would hit a little bit differently, because 3 years ago it would feel more organic, where now it just feels like, oh, a 40-year-old, 50-year-old woman wants some attention. So it's kind of trendy to do this to your kids. It's deeply disturbing, and it should be disturbing. But to say that, it's like the culture hits, politics is downstream from culture, which is why Disney is doing what it does. Disney is a bunch of very collection of bad ideas, all in this corporate entity. So Disney Florida and the globalist groomers, Disney is 100% on board this. They've taken off the mask. This is who they are moving forward. It was not that long ago that they were taking a more pussyfooted approach. That time is over. They've gone full. They fired up the engines on this. And, it's kind of a weird flex for a company that used to be family friendly. people don't want to give up Disney. They've got a huge history and it's part of their childhood growing up. If you're, anywhere of any age up to a certain, any age really right now alive, it's like Disney was probably a part of your childhood growing up and fond memories, or at least neutrally fond memories. It wasn't anything weird with Disney. Disney's like, you knew what you're getting with Disney. It was family friendly content. Even if you're a normie from Normistan, you got to kind of be catching on that Disney has changed so much. This is not the Disney that you remember. And if you're growing up now, or if you're growing up now and in the future, if you got kids or you're going to have kids or grandkids coming up, they're going to be exposed to an entirely different, like the Disney before 2010, 2015-ish, or even up to now is different than what is going to come after. The BLT stuff is going to be, I mean, she just came out, she's a corporate president, she's got 2 BLT kids, and she just came out and said that it's going to be a big part of the Disney going forward. So, people don't want to give that up. They don't want to give up the old Disney. It's like, well, the old Disney's still out there. You can get that on a hard drive if you want, and there's nothing stopping you from the old stuff. So the Florida anti-grooming law is just the final straw, I think, for a lot of people. It just says don't talk to kids about degeneracy. And that offended a lot of these degenerates on Twitter, which is like 50% degenerates. The other issue is Disney is going to make, 50% of their characters non-European and not straight. And their argument is like, well, you show straight characters in the background or straight families. It's like, yeah, it's a little, I know it's not comfortable to use the words normal and abnormal, but that is kind of what it is. It's like, well, that nuclear family structure has been around, the tribal family structure has been around for a long time. And yeah, they show it as the norm in the background because it is a norm. They go, well, society's changing so fast. See, Disney's not a reflection of society. It's actively moving the culture. They did the same excuse with rap music because they're so quick to bend over backwards to defend rap music. It's like, it's a reflection. This was their argument in the 80s and 90s. And believe it or not, the 80s rap was a whole different beast until it flipped the switch into gangster rap. It's like, and that's a fascinating story on how that occurred. And a lot of those things I thought were conspiracy theories, you look into them and you're like, oh, the CIA actually did smuggle cocaine. It wasn't as extensive as people seem to think. It was more like if you're an attaché, you're flying private, you can bring some stuff in. It's not exactly what I'm getting way off track. It's not exactly what they said it was, but it was something. There's like a lot of truth to this. And the gangster rap stuff, there's some truth to that story too. And I get distracted so easily. So Disney is going to continue to replace characters, blackwash European characters, which, it's fine. They own the IP. They can do whatever they want with those characters. And either you're on board with that or not, but it's not like people might reject individual movies, but they're not rejecting the company as a whole for that. The BLT stuff, that is a different thing entirely. And I don't think most people want to see it. And if you're at Disney and you're in this echo chamber, there doesn't appear to be any adults who are able to step back and think that, oh, maybe my experience is unusual. I'm a corporate president of Disney and I've got 2 BLT kids. Again, the odds on that are pretty freaking rare. And you got to look like, oh, well, we're going to put this in movies. And you look at like, so who's our customer base? They don't even ask those questions. Who's our customer base? Because they're just going to the assumption that people are just going to continue to get their bread in circuses. They will for a while, because this is in 2 steps. Here they're telling you what they're going to do, which they're open and honest about it. And you've already seen it with race swapping. And people have kind of slowly started to dip out of Disney, but you're talking about $1 billion company. Like losing a little bit of percentage is not such a big deal. The BLT stuff you're going to see more in the future. So that's in the years to come. And I can tell you right now, I don't think people are into it. You're going to lose a huge chunk of market. Disney can afford to lose a huge chunk of market share. It's like they're not doing this for money. And it's good to see people are finally waking up to that concept. Like, oh, they're just a corporate entity. They're just doing it for money. They're just following their articles of incorporation. No, you would have to be crazy to think that, because if they did, they would just chase the dollar. They're not. Chasing the dollar means giving people what they will pay for, not what people say they want. Those are two different things. Disney is doing this propaganda stuff. People are openly saying we don't want it, and we're dipping out of Disney, and they're doing it anyway. That's not a corporate entity that's just chasing a dollar. They're pushing propaganda. Anyway, I think that's as far as I can go without losing my freaking mind on the YouTubes. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.